Well, good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to you all. My name is Sarah Rowley, and I'm coming to you today from beautiful Gadigal land here in Sydney. And I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and to pay my respects to elders past and present. And I'd also like to acknowledge the many lands that we're all joining from today. I'm the General Manager of Leadership Development here at CEW, and for the next half an hour, we're going to explore CEW's unique and life-changing experience for executive women, our 100 Net Promoter Score Executive Leaders Program. Before we begin, I've got 3 housekeeping items of note. Firstly, as we take you through an overview of the program and share our insights, the Executive Leaders Program and any content that we share today is the intellectual property of Chief Executive Women and cannot be copied, shared, or used commercially without permission. Secondly, this session is being recorded and we're going to share that with everybody after the webinar today, and we'll be sending you a follow-up email with the link. And finally, if you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to drop them into the chat, and my fabulous team will respond either during the webinar or as part of our follow-up email. So I'm also delighted to be joined today by Chief Executive Women member Anne Burns, who is the co-author of this extraordinary program, and together Anne and I lead this 5-day residential retreat as the lead facilitators across the week. We're both accredited Gallup coaches and executive coaches. We're also joined today by one of our fabulous program alumni, and that's Sarah Rowley. She is Zip ANZ CEO, and she has generously agreed to share her personal experience of the Executive Leaders Program, having attended the November 2024 cohort. And we're also joined by our wonderful CEO, the CEO of Chief Executive Women, Lisa Anise. And Lisa also participated in the program in May 2025, and she's going to share some of her insights and reflections with you as well. So, to begin, Anne and I in this conversation will unwrap who this program is for, what our exceptional experience delivers, and finally we'll share some information about where and when the program will be offered in this financial year, and how to find out more about the course, and of course how to enroll. So the beginning of this journey back in 2022, our curiosity was piqued by an insight that was shared by a leading executive search firm, who said to Anne and I that the main reason that women are unsuccessful in being appointed to both C-suite and non-executive director positions is that they lack gravitas. And the term gravitas is such a vague and nebulous term. And in our experience of speaking with senior women, claiming a deficit in gravitas has often been used as a strategy to avoid giving detailed and clear feedback about what the real perceived missing skills or knowledge or attributes, perhaps behaviours, are in these female candidates. Our programme is absolutely not about fixing women. We believe that women are not broken, they don't need to be fixed, and our job is simply to unlock confidence. And we do that through the intentional amplification of strengths, and then by teaching and refining the requisite skills to build executive presence. So determined to address this systemic challenge, Anne and I developed our own clear and robust definition of gravitas. And then we designed this program believing and knowing that these 5 critical elements can absolutely be taught and learned. And so based on our research and our definition, the 5 elements of gravitas as we see them are strength, self, story, presence, and resonance. And so we've taken each element and we've created our learning framework and the accompanying program modules. And across 5 days, 3 times a year in November, Feb, March, and May, at beautiful 5-star locations, we bring together carefully curated cohorts of 16 exceptional executive women and we create a psychologically safe space in which exponential discovery and growth occurs. We bring an edutainment frame to this experience, and while there's a lot of fun and laughter, we are absolutely serious and unapologetic about the fact that this is transformational work. Dedicating a week of your incredibly busy lives and investing $16,000 means that participants expect results. And so from the outset, we're clear that this program is both psychologically safe and intentionally disruptive. You will experience vulnerability and discomfort across this week. Women who come on this program are at the C-suite, C-suite -1, and/or non-exec director levels. And many of them have worked with an executive coach before, might have completed their GIICD, and many of the women have attended Harvard, Stanford, INSEAD, and may have completed an MBA. Some of our participants don't have any of these badges and have taken an entirely different leadership pathway, and both are very welcome in these cohorts of women. On this program, we take executive women on a journey that really elevates or polishes their impact and resonance. And one participant once described this experience as being a bit like being at a finishing school. And I really like that description because it rings true. Many of the women who come on the program are at a transition point in their career, and they're thinking about a step up into a C-suite role, contemplating a non-exec career. And they come knowing that they've got all of the vital ingredients, but maybe they're lacking in confidence, or perhaps they're seeking a new perspective. Sometimes participants know that they need to do something different, but they're unsure exactly how to do it, or perhaps what the first step might be. And often participants are looking for focus and perhaps the impetus to be intentionally, unapologetically themselves and to really take control of the next chapter in their career as they think about the legacy and impact that they want to deliver. On this program, our work is the final finessing that enables executive women to become more of themselves and lead with confidence, impact, and gravitas.
Very good. Thank you, Sarah. So I'm still on the five-star accommodation, and the fact that it's 5 days where you get to focus on your literally just yourself and creating that space and time to do that. What an indulgence that feels like, but it's a critical thing in the executive journey. So let's explore the flow of this 5-day adventure together. The good news is it starts before you even come on the program. There is an onboarding experience which has 4 elements. The first is we ask you to complete your Clifton Strengths Assessment, which gives you lots of insights based on data and science on what you're actually good at, as opposed to what you've been told you're good at. Number 2 is a questionnaire that generates a personalised executive wellbeing report. And I'm going to come back to that because that's also based on data and science. The third is a mini 360 exercise. And the fourth, which is everybody's favourite, everybody loves to do this, is a video of yourself talking about your aspirations, which we ask you to send us in advance. The programme starts on Monday morning with strengths, and many people have already done strengths. They might have done it 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 weeks ago. But we do ask that we focus on the Monday on strengths. And the reason for that is it gives us a shared language. The language is really simple, but it's also very innovative. And we don't often use language when we talk about ourselves. So strengths really gives us the language where we can form our own narrative. The second is it gives us evidence. You know, I touched on data and science. Clifton Strengths is tested on 36 million people globally. So for those of you who are analytical, it is statistically relevant, which makes it a great tool. The third is that it gives us the ability to combine these different elements, and it helps us understand how we're showing up as leaders. So that's what we do first thing Monday morning. We also then delve into this thing called kryptonite, and you will remember from your Superman movies that once you touch the kryptonite, all of your strengths kind of disappear. And so we dive into that and we ask participants to come up with what their kryptonite scenario is and what triggers that. We then park that to the end of the week so we can test it and see the transformation from the start. to the finish. Each participant has a scenario that they've identified themselves, and we stress test what we've learned. So that's a really powerful way of measuring that transformation. We also spend a lot of time getting to know each other. 16 exec women in a 5-star resort. Of course, you're going to get to know this cohort and become great friends. You get to know one another, you set goals, you set intentions. It's a very, as Sarah said, it's a very psychologically safe space. I will tell you, there is a lot of laughing that goes on, a lot of giggling, a lot of laughing, and we think through also what is it that we want to turn up as leaders? What's the shadow or the glow that we want to create, and how do we do that in a congruent way? And it's fascinating to watch how those goals become much more sharp in focus when you think about what is my impact, what is my glow that I want to give to others as an executive leader. So we also, Sarah and I, spent ages trying to pick the right experts. And there's so many great experts out there, but we curated this program with 3. The first is Jo Stanley. For those of you who may or may not watch House of Wellness on Channel 7, or may not listen to her on the radio, she is the founder of Broad Radio, which is the only internet radio network for women by women. Absolutely fascinating. She's a TV and radio presenter. She's an author. She's written a numerous number of books for girls and sport. And she takes us on a journey of self-discovery around what is the intentional curation of our personal narrative and brand. And honestly, the stories that she tells are fascinating when she says, if you don't actually have a reputation, or indeed if you just let that organically grow, people tend to fill in the gaps. People make assumptions about you. It's much better to be deliberate about that. And so Jo helps us with that. And she's got lots of experience of people filling the gaps that haven't served her well and taking control of that and having a brand that you then become very visible and very articulate to put out in the marketplace. Number 2 is Alessandra. There is nobody else like Alessandra on the planet. And I know because when we met her, I got her to experiment on me. She's an epigenetics coach. She's a health scientist. She is a scientist. She is not interested in anything woo-woo. She is a scientist. She has done a lot of research over many, many years. And her point of view is that actually leadership is about resilience and vitality. And to have, yes, of course, skills and strategic visions, you've got to have that. But actually great executive leaderships, particularly women, have not just resiliency and intuition, but they have vitality. So understanding where that vitality comes from, whether it's through nutrition or sleep, or what is my energy archetype. I found this journey absolutely fascinating with Alessandra and life-changing, frankly, life-changing. So her data tells us that about 60% suffer burnout on a daily basis. Just let that sink in for a second. It's a constant threat. It's always in the background. Burnout, 60%. Some of the other recent research says it's as high as 80% in different generations. I haven't seen the gender split on that data, but certainly these days when life is, stressful anyway, particularly when you're juggling home and work, thinking about your vitality and your energy levels as an executive, critical, absolutely critical in this day and age. So she has a DNA performance framework that she uses on this program, and it provides a transformative, it's this personalized strategy for you to adopt. And so it brings the scientific rigor of DNA and her research, and it also enables you to take control, to bolster your own vitality and frankly your cognitive resilience. When you get that sluggish 3 o'clock thing in the afternoon and you immediately go for the cookie, bad decision. But the cognitive resilience, what is it? How do you manage that? How do you control that? Because she's all about, I want to give you the energy, vitality and resilience so that you can maintain your performance throughout whatever challenge, throughout whatever tough day, throughout whatever tough season or quarter. We love the approach that she brings because it's based on data and science. And we know that it's hugely beneficial because our participants have told us. And me personally, it's been life-changing. Number 3, the legendary Dr. Louise Marler. If you've not seen her on TV or seen her on socials, I'd be surprised. She takes charge on the last 2 days of the program. She has over 40 years of experience. I have personally known her for 30 years. She also coached me. She is a best-selling author, a keynote speaker. She was Keynote Speaker of the Year in 2021. She's always in the top 10. She's a top 30 global leader in voice and body coaching. She is a force of nature. And we are very fortunate to have her on our program. She does 2 things. On day 4, she talks about the physicality of presence. What is executive presence? Whether it's the way you walk into a room, whether it's the way you shake hands, whether it's the way you get up from a panel, whether it's the way you walk onto stage at one of those town halls. A whole series of very, very simple concepts and frameworks around what is our physicality. It is extraordinary when someone points out to you something that nobody has ever said. Lots of funny moments, but you just want somebody to tell you if you're doing something weird that isn't serving you in terms of your executive presence. Second thing that she does is resonance. And we rarely talk about resonance, but for women in particular, I think this is very powerful. Resonance is a series of formulas and structures and frameworks that Louise teaches. And it's really to master the communication and the structure, whether you are under pressure, whether you are under attack, or whether you are so passionate about something. The idea of resonance is not just what you say or how you say it, but is it memorable? And can you maintain your executive presence when you're under pressure, which is where that kryptonite comes back from the beginning of the week, and we stress test that. Life-changing experience with Louise. So with those 3, with Jo, with Alessandra and Louise, you get the full suite of all of those 5 elements of gravitas that Sarah identified at the beginning. And you come away quite changed at the end, I believe, and in a different shape, in a transformed way, and you come out feeling very differently. So in addition to all of that, Sarah and I do one-on-one coaching sessions. For the early birds, we do it at 6:30 in the morning. For the others, we do it at 4:30 in the afternoon. And this is an opportunity for you to focus specifically on your unique goals. We usually do that walking. We like to walk on the beach. We like to walk in the countryside. So it's fun if it's raining in particular, but mostly where we go, it's usually good weather. And we also have dinner together on 3 nights. So on those 3 nights, we invite different CEW members to join us for a fireside chat. And these are women you probably would never meet in your everyday lives if they're not in your organisation or if they're not in your network. So we encourage our CEW members to come so that they can amplify the content that we've shared during the day, and you can ask them questions. It also creates a really nice space for, what's the word I'm looking for? It's an intimate space. It's an intimate space where you can share the wisdom of women, as I do believe that we are very wise, and you can do that in a very safe, intimate space. So those things are always enriching, always interesting, always enriching. So I think a good outcome of all of this is the personal networks. I touched on the 16 women together in a 5-star resort for 5 days. Certainly, life at the top, certainly in my career, it was pretty lonely. So to have this cohort of women and to build that network of women you would never normally meet is an extraordinary thing to come away with. It forms an inner circle that I think is both, it's vital and it's necessary, and it kind of mitigates the risk of being lonely, and it gives you a sounding board for some of the things that you may be facing. In addition, CEW provides an alumni network called Connect. You automatically get to join the Connect community, and there are various things that you get invited to and can participate in. It's about 2,500 alumni in that network. So in summary, I will tell you what participants tell us. They consistently tell us that this program is life-changing, and you've heard me use that a couple of times. They tell us that it's transformational. They tell us that it's fun. And we're very confident, and I would say extremely confident, that if you participate in this program, you too will go through a transformational experience. But don't take my word for it. Let's ask somebody who's been through this. Sarah, hello.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
So Sarah is the ANZ CEO of Zipco. an outstanding financial company. If you haven't heard of Zip, I'd be surprised. Sarah joined us on the program in November 2024. So she's been through all of those things that I talked about, all those days and the experience. And her role at the time was she was the exec, let me get this right, I'll just read my notes here for a second, the exec business lending product at NAB. She was at NAB when she came on the program. And then after she completed the program, she then made a move to be the CEO of Zip. Fantastic. So I have a couple of questions for you, Sarah, about this experience. If you're comfortable to jump in, is that all right?
Absolutely. Let's get into it.
All right. Question 1. What did you learn about yourself on this program?
Yeah, there are two things, and that sort of really stood out for me. One was really sort of personal and intrinsic, and one was external. And you actually touched on some of them in your intro. But on a personal level, I learned not only to articulate what my strengths are, and I probably through corporate career had, the words that were given to me from a professional perspective, but actually the more transformative piece was to be able to really understand my purpose. But a really kind of meaningful and entirely my own experience around the purpose. So to bring it to life, I've done countless executive courses, and so I'd always define myself in professional terms: a strategic pragmatist, intuitive leader, someone that connects and influences, which is all well and good. But the transformation that I found is that the program really helped me kind of connect and use words to connect with my purpose and values, participants will go through this, but mine was to inspire, to drive change, and to care. Really for me, bringing out that humanistic element was super important. Linked to that was not only to consider that in the work context, but I had a sort of an epiphany or an aha moment also around the responsibility and, the almost compelled to also think about what my responsibility is as a visible leader for others, where they intersect gender, culture, and experiences that are less visible in sort of senior roles. And so, that helped me curate that, perhaps I had a broader purpose than just my work and day to day. So that was very the personal component. From an external perspective, it was very much what you talked about in terms of the extraordinary power of women supporting women. There were some wobbly moments, some real stoic women that showed amazing vulnerability, the connections, the stories, and the collective strength that comes when women lift each other up. That was amazing.
Yeah, it was great to see that moment of epiphany with you. So what would you say was your personal goal when you decided to attend the program? What was your personal goal? And did you achieve it?
It was a very rational goal. I wanted to build on my executive presence or gravitas. But actually what I found was more profound. It's, that sort of connection with purpose allowed me to really connect with my sense of self at a time and a stage where I was thinking about my career, thinking about my life, and the clarity was really transformative. It propelled me in ways that I didn't really anticipate and went far beyond my goal. So, you kind of see that the word Zip sort of in the background. Yeah. It was a great sort of, it was very timely for me. So,
yeah, very good. So how did the program meet your expectations, would you say?
No, I'd say it exceeded them. There were a couple of things that really stand out, not just the immersive component of the program and the amazing kind of leaders in commercial fields, but also the presenters that you spoke about, but it was the real sort of immersive residential experience. You have to have the right mindset and it has to be really good timing. For me, it was exactly the right moment that allowed me to just completely embrace, fully immerse myself in the program and really, spend the time to really reflect and grow. I genuinely believe you get out of it what you kind of bring in, and, coming in with real humility and real openness, I think, just 10X's a transformation.
And you talk about the 10X. What do you believe is what's the word I'm looking for? The uplift. What do you believe is the uplift from directly experiencing the program?
So, for me, it was, I was in a transition in my career around where to next. And, I would say a wobbly moment trying to figure out what it is that I wanted to do, my purpose. And what it gave me was that sort of unshakable quiet confidence and the clarity to help me work through decisions and strengthen my resilience. I always thought I was a resilient person, but it really kind of allowed me to reflect on myself, and it created opportunities. I mean, you talked to, at the time there was this particular role that had come up. I'd had a long career in, traditional banking, and that quite unshakable confidence really allowed me to step into my first CEO role, which I've been sort of 4 months into the role. I'm wearing the merch of a fintech, left the suit on the side, and the quiet confidence comes from really knowing my strengths, really leading with purpose, and really knowing what it is that I wanted to achieve and what I could contribute to the community or people that were around me. So it was absolutely transformative, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And the one thing I didn't say is we had so much fun, and we are still connected. The women are still connected. They share and celebrate their successes. So it's been wonderful.
Wonderful. Well, we're very proud of you, first-time CEO. You're doing great. Thank you very much for your candid thoughts. Now let me introduce Lisa Neese, the CEO of CEW, and she also joined this program in May 2025. So Lisa, first question for you. What makes this program different?
Oh, thank you, Anne, and so lovely to hear Soraya's reflection. I'm coming to you today from Camaragal land, and I concur with the reflections of Soraya, but what makes this program different to I recognise there are other programs in the market, is that Chief Executive Women is an organisation of Australia's most powerful and influential women leaders. And doing this program gives you exclusive access to our membership and our Connect community, and that's quite valuable. You'll also get a really dedicated place for reflection and renewal, and pitched at that level because it's designed for that level. It's a curated cohort of 16 women, a very deliberately small group, and a great diversity in background, which I think is really important. Diversity in terms of lived experience, but also in terms of professional experience. That diversity is a real strength because people balance ideas across the room, and the environment is immersive. So, and what I was surprised with is just how much people left the outside world behind and just, dove deep into the program, and to the exclusion of everything else. It was, quite outstanding.
So what surprised you most?
It's interesting because I did have preconceived ideas as, I used to run the Diversity Council Australia, and I've always had preconceived ideas about programs that focused on topics like executive presence and gravitas. But I love the way Chief Executive Women does this, because it's not about shape-shifting into something that you're not. It's not about losing your authenticity. It's actually about building your strength from your authentic story and lived experience. So it promotes that diversity rather than, putting pressure on you to mask or hide. And that surprised me because I know not all programs are like that, but it was very welcome. And I also have a newfound respect for the importance of fostering something where we can build our gravitas, because even though creating gender equality in leadership is about a lot of things, one of the things it is about is allowing the natural talent and capability of women to be to be allowed its ability to present itself in its most powerful way.
Very good. So how you experience this with us, how would you describe the program overall in simple terms?
I mean, I think it was really transformative. I attended the program to observe it, also to sort of get a bit of development myself as a new CEO at Chief Executive Women. And in the end, I got so much out of it. I found it really transformative as well. I think the collective wisdom of all the women in the room and the experts that were brought in allowed me to think about my own leadership journey in a different way, be able to step back and examine it from the outside. I also found that working with these experts like Jo and Alessandra, and like you, Anne, I'm on a journey with Alessandra as well. when you're not just focusing on who you are at work, but you're also focusing on who you are in life. Given you're a complete human being, the optimizing effect of that is felt in every aspect of your life. And for most women who are in the room, they have complex lives, which include commitments outside of work as parents and carers, identities as daughters and friends and spouses, the ability to focus on the complete version of you makes you powerful in every aspect of your life. And I found that really transformative.
Very good. So I get asked this question all the time when people ask me about this program. Why is it so important to have a cohort of women only at this level?
It is critical, and it's critical for two reasons. And the first reason is that whilst there's a lot of diversity amongst women's lived experience, so, a First Nations woman will have a very different experience to someone else, and their lived experience is shaped in different ways. There are things that as a cohort, as a class of humans, women have in common. And we also know through research that the barriers for women to ascend to the CEO role, there are themes that are experienced by women as a group that are not experienced by men. So you have a shared understanding. You don't have to explain yourself. Everyone gets it in the room. The other reason why it's so important is that you actually need the psychological safety to be vulnerable. And women really build that for each other, not just because we share the same experiences, but because the sisterhood is very strong in these groups. So it's a safe space and it allows people to feel vulnerable. What we know is that we are still a minority in leadership. Our recent census shows that only 10% of CEO roles in the ASX 300 are held by women, and 41% of companies have no women at all positioned for CEO succession. So that shared experience matters. We are a minority in leadership, and there is power and strength in us coming together and learning from each other and building that safety in order to move forward. And the solidarity that happens post-event. I've seen the WhatsApp group of the group that I was on, and you'll inherit a whole group of women who are now your friends, and greatest champions, cheerleaders and supporters. It's absolutely so powerful.
Thank you, Lisa. And of course, we're all about the economic imperative as well. We know that gender diverse teams are 21% more likely to outperform those that are not. And we know from our research that would add $128 billion to our Australian economy. So the maths works as well. So with that, thank you very much, Lisa, and back to Sarah.
Thank you so much, Anne, and thank you so much, Lisa. And thank you to all of you for joining us today in our exclusive unwrap of CEW's Executive Leaders Program. If you're considering joining the development program for yourself, or you want to talk about it with others in your network, we really invite you to take that next step, because if not now, when? And if not you, then who? This program is your opportunity to show up as the very best version of yourself. So please reach out to me directly and schedule a one-to-one call to explore the next step in your leadership journey. Thank you all once again, and goodbye. Have a great afternoon.